and there are different stakeholders who are involved, which makes it a little complex also. So we have seen what is all about CMI and Agile. So generally there is a misconception that probably because CMI has been implemented mostly for organizations which have been following the traditional waterfall model, which has been sort of, it has its own characteristics, which is not actually, which goes by clearly defined requirements, and which is actually change averse. Where in the case of Agile, so which is actually a sort of a welcoming change approach. So traditionally people are misconstrue that the CMI MI processes or procedures are not applicable or may not suitable or would not supplement the Agile concepts or principles or practices. So which we'll probably look at whether this is the case in the slides from now. So what I've tried to do here is that I've taken each process area applicable for the development discipline and trying to map each process area in terms of the specific practices, and then see whether there are mapping Agile practices which are available in the Agile world. So, and I'm trying to probably qualify with a coverage statement whether it is something is completely available or something is not available or something which is partially available. So this is the mechanism that I'm trying to do here in terms of mapping the process areas with the Agile concepts. So the first process area is on requirements management. So requirements management talks about how do you manage requirements, or how do you obtain commitments to from the team members, from the project team, how do you manage change requests, how do you ensure traceability, how to align work with the requirements. So all these, probably I've mentioned the Agile practices. So we have something called as a product backlog. So we do a release planning and a sprint planning exercise where we identify what are all the user stories which we would be developing for that particular sprint. Changes are managed through product backlog and sprint planning. So a little note on user story. User story is nothing but technique wherein the requirements are managed or developed in the form of user stories in the Agile in the Scrum methodology. User story, so probably if you look at a typical user story document, so it contains simple phrases like, as an end user, I would want to do something so that I can achieve something. So all the user stories I mean follow this particular standard, and probably and they are supplemented with something called as the user story narratives, and narratives are additional information. So if you look at these three statements, right, I would like to repeat it again. So as a end user, or as a end user or an administrator or a particular user, I would want to, so I would want to implies what I would like to perform for a particular functionality, and so that I would achieve something or some objective from the business perspective. So this is the typical format of a user story, and user stories are supplemented by narratives. Narratives are additional notes which actually contain acceptance criteria also, which is one of the important parts. So acceptance criteria serves as input to verify or validate whether a successful user story has been developed or not. And apart from that, there could be variations. It could be attach some other documentation which are relevant to the user story. It could contain screenshots and additional information. So if you look at this process area, so you can see that through these Agile practices, I mean by and large the coverage is available in Agile. Moving on to the project planning process area. Project planning talks about what are the, I mean, how do you do an estimation in for a project? How do you develop the project plan? Or what is the plan for data management? How do you identify risks? How do you identify the resources, their training needs, and how do you obtain a commitment to the plan? So again, so we have something called as from an estimation perspective, we have something called as a planning poker game. So where team members are involved, and we develop something called as we identify something called as story points. So we attach story points for each of the user stories to arrive at the complexity. And in again, product backlog contains the entire list of items. So developing a plan. So again, we do the planning exercise through release planning or sprint planning. We identify risks. We are I mean we do take care of risks, though we don't have an explicit probably a process which talks about risks. Stakeholders are involved. We get the buy-in from the team, agile teams, and stakeholders like product owners or customers are involved. We have, we do the tracking in terms of the burn down charts, which I explained earlier. Obtaining a commitment to the plan, customer collaboration, again customer co-location. So we're talking about a scenario where the customers are sitting along with the team and they are part of the team. They ensure that the team understands the requirements or the user stories correctly. And the form of daily stand-up meetings also, we ensure that we get a commitment from the team members. Project monitoring and control process area. So how do you monitor the project, the commitments or the risks? I mean the data management, how are the progress reviewed, and what are the corrective actions that you take? So again, you can see that the agile practices which cater to these are the daily stand-up meetings. So we monitor, as I mentioned earlier, so the daily stand-up meetings, we talk about the roadblocks as well as the amount of work that has been completed by each individual since the last meeting. Project task board. So the daily stand-ups happen in a sort of a conference room or a war room where we have access to this task dashboard where all the team members have access to the progress that the sprint team members are making. Retrospectives, again, they are used for taking any corrective actions. And that sums up the monitoring and control process area. Configuration management practices, again, from a extreme programming perspective, it gives a greater emphasis on things like baselining of code, pair programming, and continuous integration, where continuous integration is made easier by tools like probably Hudson or Cruise Control, and if you talk about the Java world. So these things are available and made use of in terms of a agile world. And how do you establish integrity? Again, we have the tools which talk about these which are used for implementing continuous integration. Measurement and analysis. So this is more from how do you measure the progress, what are the metrics that you start using for the project? How do you measure the success, or how do you measure whether you are making improvements? So, and probably in a typical waterfall model, generally we talk about different metrics like defect density or variances like effort or schedule variance. And from agile perspective, we talk about there are certain other metrics which probably are involved, something like number of story points completed per sprint, what is the percentage of user stories which have not been accepted by the product owner, or number of user stories that have been added or deleted during a sprint, number of user stories that have been pushed to a difference. So basically we are trying to gauge how stable the sprint is, or what are the different metrics which will enable us to see whether we are able to follow a sustainable or a uniform development. And provide measurement. If you look at the second goal, how do you provide measurement results? So again, we do the tracking or reporting in terms of burn down charts. So burn down chart, as I covered earlier, it talks about the progress of the sprint, whether we are on track or whether we are doing items which are beyond the scope of what is required. PPQA, again, how do you evaluate adherence of performance process, and how do you track NCs, that is non-compliant issues? So in each agile or scrum, we have an agile coach or the scrum master who takes care of the entire scrum or extreme XP process. So I've marked the coverage in agile as partial, because though we have certain practices or processes which are involved. It's not doesn't cover clearly on what is the how to communicate the NC issues, and it's not effectively covered as part of Agile, or it's not recommended effectively in Agile. Supplier agreement management, again, it talks about how do you engage suppliers who provide different products or solutions. How do you establish a transition? What is the kind of support mechanism you have? So all these are from an organizational perspective. For in a traditional waterfall model, I mean, probably we can use, but from an Agile perspective, these are not explicitly covered. So that's why the rating says it's not covered. Requirements development process, again, how do you develop customer requirements? How do you elicit their requirements? How do you develop the product requirements? How do you analyze and validate the requirements? Again, you have, I think I covered about these in detail: user stories and story cards, and product backlog, through which we established that the entire requirements for the product are available. How do you analyze analysis at each sprint? So probably in terms of a sprint review meeting, we involve the product owner to review the sprint, the deliverable of that sprint, and get his inputs. Technical solution process area. This talks about what is the technical solution, what are the alternate solutions that have been considered, how the design has been performed, what are the interfacing mechanisms, whether there are any reusability aspects, and how do you develop the documentation for any support process. Again, so we have extreme programming, which gives a greater emphasis on refactoring, simple design, and collective code ownership, and usage of coding standards and pair programming. With through these practices, we can ensure that the technically the product is stable and it's of a good quality. Product integration process area. So how do you prepare for product integration? What is the strategy that would be used? What are the interfacing mechanism, or what is the compatibility? How do you manage them? I mean, how do you assemble the product components and things like that? So again, so it's more of a integration mechanism. So I mean, from Agile perspective, I mean, though clearly we are not talking about anything like an interface. So interfaces actually they are not separately called out. So interface, I mean, interfaces would be typically part of the project requirements or the developments that are being developed. Verification, the next two process areas deal with verification and validation. So verification, probably just a note on what is the difference. I mean, verification answers, are we building the right system right? And validation answers, are we building the right system? So basically it's from a intent and the user perspective it is done. Verification is helps to determine whether the software is of high quality, but it will not ensure whether it is useful for the end user, whereas the validation ensures that whatever is being developed is usable by the end user. So typically this is the difference between these two process, I mean these two, verification and validation. So some of the practices which I think I covered earlier also. So automated testing, so we are talking about automated testing and which is happening on a regular basis. So as part of the continuous integration, automated test suites are also deployed, so that the any code check-in is also tested periodically. Validation, again, the customer is since he is co-located along with the team, so he has a chance to see the product, and as part of the sprint review meeting, he is understand the product, he gets to see the product. Organizational, there are if you look at the process areas, there are some of the process areas which are applicable, or the focus is more towards the organization. So one such is the organizational process focus area. So it basically deals with how do you identify the strength and weakness of improvement activities for the organizational process available in the organization. I mean, how do you plan and implement those improvements, and whether you have organizational assets, process assets, or available, deployed, what are the experiences, what are the mechanism in which the project teams contribute to the process assets. So as I mentioned, so this is from an organizational perspective. So Agile doesn't talk about any of this process area because the focus of Agile is totally different. Again, organizational process definition, again it talks about how do you maintain the process assets of the organization, how do you contribute, what is the repository, whether the repository is available, what are the guidelines and structure for operation of the teams. Again, this is not covered as part of Agile. Organizational training, so again it is all pervasive against the organization. So what are the training methodologies, what is the training plan? It includes both the strategic as well as the tactical training plans which is required for the organization. So I have marked this as, mark the coverage as partial here because though training, organizational training is not probably covered explicitly in Agile, there is a focus on training the Agile team or the project team. So I've marked it as partial. Integrated project management, so how do you establish the projects or the project defined process? How do you use the organizational process for your project? How do you integrate the different plans? And how do you coordinate and collaborate with the relevant stakeholders? So again, so I mean the XP, in XP we have the coach and the Scrum Master who are responsible for ensuring all the processes that have been decided to be followed are followed. And I mean the collaboration with the stakeholders, as I mentioned, they are co-located and committed to ensuring that the sprint is successful. So they are part of the team. Risk management, again, so Agile generally, though it doesn't explicitly talk about any technique, specific technique for risk management, generally the teams are risk aware, they understand risk and they prepare for it and they try to mitigate it. And generally from a Agile perspective, the risk items, because we have a blessing from the customer who is part of the team, who works with the team, so generally with respect to the requirements and the customer perspective are lesser. There is a risk items are lesser. Though I mean it covers risk management in this perspective, it does not probably wholesome as to what CMI expects. Like a CMI probably in a traditional way methodology, what you follow is something like you create a risk management worksheet where you track on exposure index, that is on the impact and the probability of the risk items. But here it doesn't explicitly talk about the techniques and how do you evaluate the risk. Decision analysis and resolution. So again, so how do you do a decision analysis and resolution? So decision analysis could be applicable in different areas and different perspectives. It could be from a requirement perspective, it could be from a design perspective. So CMI process area talks elaborately on how do you establish guidelines, what are the evaluation criteria, how do you identify and select the alternate solutions, how do you evaluate them, and how do you ensure that that is successful or better. I mean, how do you compare these alternative solutions? So it's more of an elaborate coverage, but again, Agile doesn't explicitly talk about this, or how do you do what is the technique for this. But I mean, by and large, decision analysis, I mean, as part of the normal project teams, it is done on almost on a daily basis, right from the managers or the team. So probably we can say that though I mentioned it is not covered, I mean, teams are doing I mean DAR on a daily basis, but though effectively it is not documented. Quantitative project management, again this talks about what is how do you compose a defined process, what are the sub-process and attributes, how do you measure, what are the analytical techniques that you use, I mean how do you perform root cause analysis. So a slight note on sub-process. So what is a sub-process? So probably if you probably to put it simple, if you talk about coding as a process, so sub-process could be the code review or unit testing. So for each process you can identify sub-process and then ensure that you I mean, how do you identify the sub-process, how do you ensure, how do you manage, and how do you control the sub-process. So basically sub-process, once you ensure, I mean they contribute to the success of the process to which it pertains to. So again, so from a quantitative project management perspective, we are not dealing with any specific practice in Agile. Again, organizational process performance, it talks about what are the baselines and models that you use, and I mean, what are the sub-processes that you select from organization set of standards. Again, so you can see that again, this is from an organizational perspective. Again, Agile doesn't talk anything related to, doesn't have anything related to or relevance to from an organization per se. Causal analysis and resolution. So I mean, there's nothing but the root cause analysis. So CMMI talks about how do you identify the root causes for selected outcomes. If you note, it says it's outcomes. So I mean, outcome could be either positive or negative. So it could be a positive outcome or a negative outcome, which means there are some issues. So typically we do causal analysis only for issues, but right now with version 1.3 of CMMI, it talks about doing a CAR for even positive outcomes. So how do you, once you identify, how do you address action proposals, and how do you measure the effectiveness of the action that has been performed? So again, I've marked it as partial because though we don't have a specific technique, we do sort of a causal analysis as part of the retrospectives meeting, and whereby action item owners are identified and who are responsible for carrying out these improvements in the subsequent sprints. Organizational performance management process area, again it talks about how do you maintain business objectives, how do you use statistical and quantitative techniques to ensure the business objectives of the organization are met. How do you analyze the process performance data? How do you deploy improvements across all these areas using statistical methods? I mean, how do you measure the improvements on these process areas? Again, so this is not covered as part of Agile, since this deals with more from an organization perspective. So we have right now covered all the 22 process areas, mapping them against Agile. So apart from the specific goals, we have mapped all the specific goals and specific practices. This slide predominantly talks about what are the generic goals and generic practices. So we have typically 3 generic goals, and within that we have generic practices. So the first generic goal is on talks about the performed process. Basically, how do you what is the work necessary to satisfy the specific goals. The second goal, institutionalize a managed process. There's nothing talks about the managed process. There is processes that are planned and executed in accordance with the particular plan or a policy. So if you look at practices, it talks about how do you employ skilled people, and how do you involve the stakeholders, how do you get their commitment, how the processes are monitored, controlled and reviewed, and how they are evaluated to ensure that they are adhering to the process description. So we have different practices which covers all these. So probably I've mapped most of the generic practices against Agile practices, and which most of which I've already talked about. And the third generic goal is on the defined process. How do you institutionalize the defined process? The difference between what is a defined process? Defined process is a managed process, but where the certain process from the organizational are tailored for a project specific need. And when I say tailoring again, the tailoring process itself adheres to the organizational training process. So, and the second is on how the projects contribute to the process related experience. So when you execute a project, what are the experiences, how do you contribute back to the organization process? So these are all the processes that are covered as part of the defined process. So just to summarize on this common goal, so we have 3 common goals. The first one is common goal is on the performed process. Second is on the managed process, and third is on the defined process. Okay, so I mean, summarizing all these process areas and mapping them against the agile techniques, we can see that by and large most of them have been covered, except for those which are talking about or covering about the organizational per se. So because we need to understand that agile is, the intent of agile is totally different. It's more on how do you develop requirements in a particular project or in teams. How do you ensure that teams work in an effective manner, or the project teams work in an effective manner to ensure that customer is delivered software in a periodic or a frequent cycle. So the intent is different in an agile perspective. So obviously it doesn't cater to any of the organizational focus on the process related improvements or process related procedures. So to conclude, I would say that I mean, based on the previous slide also, you can see that most of the level 2 and level 3 process areas can be mapped with the agile practices, which there are with probably a certain few adjustments that can be made in the way those have been followed. And there are certain areas where we need more focus in terms of the level 4 and level 5 process areas, so which we can call them as higher maturity areas. Typically the items like organizational performance, process definition, organizational process focus, organizational process management, and organizational process performance. And probably just to summarize and then conclude, we can say that definitely organizations can embrace both agile and CMMI together. So though only a subtle or rather there are some real differences which probably organizations need to focus on if they aim to be at a aim for a CMMI maturity level. Thanks.